Ooh, it looks like they've updated the live session. Okay. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome once again. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Thursday. Um, if Here we are back in my where I live. We just are entering into a lockdown yet again, which on one hand, I can be grateful we've gotten this long without going in a lockdown, and on the other hand, it's very sad that that's kind of where we are. But I am thankful that I have this hour to spend with all of you. So let us get comfortable in our seats and close our eyes and bring ourselves into presence with a quick meditation. So close your eyes and inhale through your nose and hold. And exhale through your mouth and hold. And again, inhale through your nose and hold. And exhale through the mouth and hold. And as you go at your own pace of inhaling through the nose and holding, and exhaling through the mouth and holding. If thoughts should come into your head, just observe them and let them pass. Like watching a car move past on the road. Now is not the time for solving problems. Right now, all you need to do is inhale through the nose and hold, and exhale through the mouth and hold. And on your next inhale, say to yourself, Shema, and on the exhale, listen. Shema, listen. In Shema, we're listening deeply. Without judgment, without offering advice. In Shema, we are listening with an open heart. Shema, listen. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Well, friends, I'm going to start us out today with the subject of my email this week. Let's see. Can you see the slides? And may I have a volunteer to read this?
Excuse me. I will be glad to read.
Thank you.
What if the miracle was there? What if the miracle was there always was enough? And in their anxiety, those who saw the oil saw its meagerness instead of its abundance.
Great, thank you. So this was a teaching I heard, I think it was yesterday, from Cantor Carol Shapiro, who she's a cantor in one of the LA area synagogues. But what is this? I was really blown away by this whole idea. But I'm curious, what strikes you about this? What's the idea here?
It sounds a little bit like that, like the optimist sees the glass as half full, and the pessimist sees the glass as half empty. That maybe some of these people were pessimists and they didn't see the fullness of what was actually there.
Yeah, that's very possible, that they just were kind of pessimistic. They just fought a big battle and they didn't see what was there. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Joanne.
Yeah, I think that people focus on what they don't have instead of what they do have. And if they focus on what they do have, then they can be grateful for that. But if you focus on what you don't have, you feel like you're missing something. And I think it also has to do with having faith that there's enough of whatever in the world, and that God will provide for you if you're connected. And I remember a long time ago, there was somebody who said something like this about abundance. And it made me take a different look at a lot of things. Because if you believe in abundance, then you don't believe in that you're missing out something. You know, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, I shall not be missing anything. You know, that kind of attitude.
Yeah, thank you. Do you think that's really believable that they could look at enough oil for 8 days and think, oh my God, there's not enough here?
Maybe.
Yeah, you looked, I couldn't tell if you were shaking your head there.
I was shaking my head. These guys are experienced with this. This is what they do every day at the temple. I think they would hear what was enough. But what I had a teaching just a few hours ago at another class I was in, and they said the kindling of that oil was the act of faith, because they could see it wasn't enough, and yet they lit it anyway.
Right.
And that was where they had their act of faith. And I was blown away by that.
Yes. It's kind of either way, whether their perception was correct or incorrect. They went ahead and they went for it. Yeah.
I always wondered where the next shipment of oil was coming from.
Mm.
Why were they so concerned at the time? Did people donate oil to the lamps? I did.
And what's your name?
Eileen. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, let me fix that.
Sure. Thank you, Eileen. I mean, my understanding is there was a certain process of pressing the oil from the olives, and a certain kind of blessing and sanctification that needed to take place in order to prepare it for use in the temple. And so there was actually quite olive oil was quite an industry back in the day. But because that's how a lot of lamps were lit, but this particularly special oil. Yeah.
The way I hear this, that when we live in abundance, but we don't understand because we are on a subjective level, or objectively, what we really need is air, water, love. That is always an abundance, but we don't value it because it's all around and we got used to it. So I think that same with the oil. It's kind of, for me, it's the light that goes out and warm and show and guide. So that's how I perceive this.
Yeah, thank you. It reminds me a little bit of a story I heard about the vaccine, where there's sort of more doses in each vial than they expected. You know, we're sort of faced with this right now. Is there enough vaccine? Doesn't look like it right now. You know, but we can wring our hands, or we can start giving people shots. And this is the right people, this is the wrong people. Should it be faster? Should it be slower? We can worry about all that, or we can say, right, we've got what we've got. We've got a good chunk of data. Now let's start doing what we can do and see how long it lasts and see where it'll take us.
Greg, are you talking about in the vial, how they thought there was 5 shots, but they think now that there's 6 or 7 in each of those vials?
Yeah.
It gives them 40% more. So that we didn't even know. It's so like maybe in the future, if you're thinking about something in the future, a lot of times I've heard little kids and say at camp and stuff, there's not going to be enough. There's not going to be enough for everyone. There's not going to be enough. They're thinking ahead, and they're not realizing that underneath it, there's more, you know? So it's in your mind. You know?
Yeah.
It reminds me of how everyone, the pandemic first opened up, everyone bought toilet paper.
Yeah.
Like hordes of toilet paper. I feel like obviously we missed the learning here somewhere. We're not catching on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
When,
Yep.
oh, go ahead, Joanne.
I was just going to say, that's why they told people only the medical professionals need masks, because they knew that otherwise non-medical people were going to go out and buy reams of masks and hoard them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what people do.
Yeah. When we get anxious, when we get worried, you know, there's a constriction. There's a grasping. That brings us to, oops, I didn't want to do that, but I did want to do this. So I wanted to talk about our assumption for this week. And the assumption that I would love to highlight is this idea that we're driven by the conflict of the evil inclination and the good inclination. And as a reminder, the evil inclination, it's not like murderous urges. It's sort of this idea of fear, anger, selfishness. And the good inclination is more of our social impulses, our willingness to share, our willingness to help others, altruism, those sorts of things. So with this story of the oil as presented, where there was, you know, there's a question of, is there enough? Wasn't there enough? How does the good inclination and the evil inclination play into this? Especially if we think about, like, you know, this buying up of all the toilet paper. Carol, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking about what Janet said about the book she just read. It's not a bad thing to want to acquire enough, but when it becomes excess, it causes harm or can cause harm. As was seen, people who bought up all the spaghetti, all the toilet paper, all the canned tomatoes, you know, and I saw some of it. And did I do some of that? Well, I did buy some canned food. Fortunately, a couple weeks before, I'd been to Costco and stocked up just in general. And if, like a lot of Californians, I tend to keep enough on hand because, you know, in case of earthquake, I've got stuff to fall back on. But yes, the acquisition, the hoarding causes harm, or potentially causes harm.
Yeah.
So that would be the evil or the bad inclination.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's when that fear starts to take over. It's when, you know, the fear kind of clouds our judgments and reason. You know, I may not be able to get toilet paper for a year.
Well,
No.
I guess if I'm not going to get a vaccine for a year, I need to trust that between March and now I've been fine. So if I go another few more months, I'll probably be fine because there'll be other populace of people getting the vaccine, which is going to help stop the roll of it getting worse and worse. That's my perception of what the good side of it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was just reading Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler, in his book Strive for Truth, he wrote a few essays about Hanukkah, and I didn't get a quote, but there was one where he was talking about that, like, joy can increase, like if good things happen to us, like our joy increases. And if something good happens to a friend, we get some joy from that. But sometimes if like more and more good stuff starts happening to a friend, that our joy levels out, and it can even turn into envy and other things. And
Yep.
so it's interesting when we can look out and see other people start getting vaccinated. You know, how do we show up with that? And what's the story that we tell ourselves? And which inclination are, you know, is it a, you know, thank God, you know, some people are getting vaccines and eventually there's going to be one for me? Or is it become a story of, why am I not getting the vaccine? And there's not enough to go around, and you know, it's not fair that I'm not getting it. And this is a real choice point, I think. So far, people have been kind of cool, but I suspect that there's going to be some tempers starting to flare.
Yeah, very likely.
Yeah, so it's a time where we're all going to continue to need to be tested and to be patient. But the way I think about it, it's like, you know, now I see the tunnel. Like the light at the end of the tunnel is maybe really far away, but at least I feel like I'm in a tunnel now. Before, who knew where we were, what was going on? And I will for sure take that as progress. So, whoops, let's see, where is, all right, my slides are a little bit out of order here, but let's start talking about gratitude. So may I have a volunteer to read our definition of gratitude once again?
Mussar teaches that the gratitude soul trait governs our ability to recognize the good in any situation. In fact, the Hebrew word for this soul trait literally translates as recognizing the good. Should I continue?
Yeah, please.
It is easy to get caught up in a litany of woe, listing all the injustices the universe has visited upon us. We lose sight of
this year, okay? Just saying.
We lose sight of the fact that life itself is a gift. In fact, the terminally ill can seem to be more alive, filled with joy that they have survived to see another day. Mussar teaches us how to gain this appreciation while we remain alive and healthy. In the Talmud, Ben Zoma teaches, who is rich? He who is happy with his lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, okay, so here we are, and this is a topic we've been covering quite a bit over the last month, is trying to find ways to recognize the good. And maybe we can use this as a moment to kind of check in. How has that been going? Do you feel like you're getting more resources to recognize the good?
Yeah.
Someone maybe share an example of some good that they saw recently? Carrie.
I'm not quite sure it's good that I've seen recently, but it made me more aware of the good that I feel. I was talking to friends in England today, and they're in their 80s, and they just got the vaccination. So they're grateful for that, but she's very frustrated that she can't get together with friends still, and she's normally a very grateful person, but I could see that her patience level was but just about done. And I thought, wow, I'm not going to be able to get the vaccine for probably several more months, but I'm still very grateful that I will be able to get it, and I will be able to, do the things that I want to do again. So it just made me more aware of what I do have and what I will have. And I did not try to persuade her to be grateful in any way. I just listened. And but I was thinking, okay, how can I get my friend to see that this is a really good thing, about getting the vaccine, and it's going to be okay. So, it was interesting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Carrie. And it's really wonderful that you didn't try to, persuade her to be grateful, because some of these teaching can almost be weaponized. If we go to someone who's just feeling down, it's like, hey, you should be grateful. It's like, well, I don't feel grateful. I'm feeling frustrated today. And that's part of the human experience. And sort of deny and push those off. It's a tool that sometimes we can use to help get ourselves out of a situation, but sometimes it's really hard work to kind of find the good. But we can't do someone else's spiritual work for them. We can just be there and be a good friend sometimes. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else care to share an experience? Yeah, Carol.
I've talked about this at length, about all the things that have come up that I have to be grateful. So I won't go back over it, but I've had a lot of grateful awakenings, I guess. And one of the things I started doing, because I had to give up some things I really, really love, like, the horses and stuff, and socializing. But I do a gratitude journal every night. I list 15 things that I can find that I'm grateful for. And I repeat day after day. A lot of days it's, I don't have COVID. My brother doesn't have COVID anymore. I have Mussar. And you do appear in that one. Beth appears in that one quite a bit, because it's been a real rock for me, really. It's been a real touch point. So I find that really helps. If you take the time, you can find things. I have enough food. I have a roof over my head. Things that we always used to take for granted. My car runs.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you just muted yourself again.
Yeah. You asked, has anything good happened? And that goes along with being grateful. And I really was thinking that this has to go along with trust. And I had a nightmare of a sewer problem that was, and then the fear comes into play. That was, I have to believe and trust that it is okay now, because I had somebody come at the end of last Thursday and fix my problem for $750. I reached out to my neighbor about 3 hours before that, who recommended this person. And I am so grateful, because if I had not done that, about 5 hours before that, I had another company come and gave me 3 quotes, $22,000, $45,000, and $63,000, because they had to get the city involved with permits and tearing up the street.
Oh my God.
And if I had not trusted myself and my neighbor and reached out with gratefulness, they are my angels, I would never have had this. And to have somebody who got on the phone and said, you know what, you sound like a really nice lady, I'm going to come and take care of you. Within 2 hours, he fixed my problem for $750.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I think you bring a very good balance to your story, because we have choices that we make along the way, and we put ourselves in a position where good things can happen. Yeah, thank you. right, let's take a look. I have, let's take a look. Let's go a little bit deeper here. So maybe in a slightly different direction too. So this one really sparked some thought for me. So could someone please read this first quote from Paleo?
I can.
Well, was somebody else going to read?
No, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. A person who has received the smallest benefit from his friend is obligated to permanently engrave on his heart not to repay his friend with any evil and to bestow whatever favors he can upon him. Even if this person also wronged him, he must forget the wrong and not forget the good.
Wow.
All right, so I heard a summarized version of this, which is, don't repay good with bad. So what do we think about this? It's a pretty strong perspective. What is the perspective that that he's teaching? I can put it back up.
Could I see it? Yeah, look at it again, please.
Yeah, sure. Gail, you were going to say something.
Yes, I pretty strongly disagree with this. I don't think this gives this person a pass for the rest of our lives together, that they did a good thing for me once. And now they can do anything with impunity, and I just have to take it. That I would have real trouble with this.
All right, thank you. So yeah, so does that mean someone just gets a free pass if they did something good for you, that they can hold it over your head forever and just walk all over you? That doesn't seem like a good way to go. Other thoughts?
It kind of reminds me of the saying, I will forgive you, but I won't necessarily forget. So maybe sometimes a good thing can come out of what seemingly is a person who has lower morals or lower standards, but I don't think it means I have to go and be, like Gail said, have that over my head for the rest of my life just because they did me that one favor, that one good deed. I think there's a bigger picture. I think it can flow forward that he or she doing that good deed will get some other good deed maybe from someone else, or a good deed will be done for him or her somewhere else. I don't have to hold on to that forever. Seems kind of heavy.
Yeah. What if we de-escalate it a little bit away from like giant good deeds and so someone who's really acting in a not so great way, where it's maybe someone we know where the ledgers are a little bit closer, it's more garden variety stuff, which annoys us, and they've also done some good stuff for us. Is there a way that this might be helpful, or is this just too off base to be useful? Yes, Eileen. Remember to unmute yourself, please.
I believe loving kindness comes into this, because even though someone could do you wrong, they're still labeled a friend. It says a friend does something good, a friend does something not as good for you, or false. And loving kindness would have us look at them in a level way without conviction.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's can kind of, what do you mean kind of looking in a level way or without conviction?
Well, without reacting in a negative or positive way towards their deed. Accepting it.
Yeah. Trying to be accepting, almost like an accepting of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had an experience like that once where this teaching was helpful to me, where someone did something really, really hurtful to me. And and they had done something, they'd helped me out with like my first book and let people know about it. And it was a pretty substantial piece of assistance. And I really thought about this. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just try to focus on the good that they did for me. And I'm not going to focus on, I'm not going to focus on the bad. Looks like Janet has taken a little nap here. Someone commented. It's okay. You okay over there, Janet? Somebody was worried. You're good? Okay. If it's relaxing and been a long day, by all means, take a nap. It's cool.
See Janet.
Janos.
I want to throw in one one thing that I adapted from a neuroscientist, that they state that our brain is really remembering negativity as if it is that part of our brain is Velcro. But the part that remember the good is covered with Teflon.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So then, great. Take it a little further. Then why is this? How does that apply to this teaching?
They take much more work to maintain the good, the gratitude, and if you are not working on it, naturally will drift to evil inclination and the negativity.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful point. Yeah, we hold a grudge in my family. I have to say, holding a grudge comes very naturally to me. So it's good to have some practices to just say, you know what, this one really isn't like, like especially in this case with this person I'm talking about, it was very clear it was like their issues that came up. Like I did something and their issue got taken out on me. And I'm glad I don't have that issue, whatever it may have been. So it's just been, every time I'd start to get annoyed, it's like, yeah, but they really did you a solid over here. So let's just remember, I'm not going out of my way to like, help or promote this person, but I'm also not I'm really trying to avoid wasting those kind of mental cycles on the grudge.
Great.
Yeah.
And maybe reminding them of the good they did for you helps kind of do a 180, get them to do a 180, and they'll go back to, oh, I felt good when I did good for you, so I'm going to do good again. I'm thinking of little kids when they're like at camp, and then they'll come up to you and they'll share their lunch with you. They want to be good and kind to you, and then all of a sudden they're playing on the playground. They come up and kick you in the chin. Well, like you said, it's them. Something it's in them, and then that's how we can remember the good, and we can tell them, look, you were good. You did this. This was very good, and emphasizing that, because that was a change. The good causes a change in us and causes a change in them. Really, to paint that Teflon on yourself and let it go. It's not as big as we think. The good is much bigger.
Yeah, we're stronger than Teflon. We can train ourselves to overcome that sort of natural barrier. I think your comment, Wendy, reminds me of maybe you could read this quote from Madeline Levine, even though we're not here has young children, and I'm not sure everyone, and I know not everyone here is a parent of children of any age, but I think there's a lesson that we can use for ourselves here.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Emphasizing goodness should be a daily exercise for us. as we catch our children being good at small things, sharing a cookie with a friend, helping a younger sibling with a math problem. It is the expectation of good behavior and the rewarding of it in its minor forms that accumulate and turn our children into good people. That's a building. I like that, the way that builds up.
Thank you. So what might we take out of this as adults? Is there a lesson here that we could use that that could be helpful for us in navigating the adult world? What do people think? Yeah, Carrie.
It's an exercise that I do with my family, particularly my husband, is to notice the small things that are helpful or kind and to thank him for it. And it helps me not take things for granted. And he likes it. And so, but I think it's a good thing to do because it makes you very mindful of what we're doing and what the people around us are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Recognizing, thanking for the small things. How about within ourselves? Do you think we recognize when we do a good thing? Should we be grateful to ourselves that, I walked around the block, that was good. I got out of the house today.
I don't know about being grateful for it, but recognizing it. I think we should recognize when we do something good. I took a walk in place today for 15 minutes. I haven't done that for a while. That's good. Yay. Your own cheerleader a little bit, especially if you're alone in quarantine, you have to be.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to cheer me on but me. Well, that's not entirely true, but in person.
Yeah. Go Facebook Live. Hey, I need some cheerleaders here as I'm doing my walk.
No, for that one, nobody's going to cheer me on, except you today, now.
But if we do this, if we emphasize our own goodness, it will lift our mood up. It will keep us from getting morose or ruminating on the stuff we don't like, because we're focusing on the good stuff. And we all do good things. I think we all do good things for ourselves over the course of the day, and we're kind of forced to do that more with this pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I tend to play more games online than I'd like, and I think thanking myself for not doing that, or for shutting it down, or for even saying, "Oh, good job taking a break and relaxing, and now we can move on to something else." I think finding ways to be kind to ourselves and grateful to what we can do, I think is really critical, especially right now. All right, so here is our prompt for our breakout rooms today. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov wrote, "Gratitude rejoices with her sister joy and is always ready to light a candle and have a party. Gratitude doesn't like the old cronies of boredom, despair, and taking life for granted." So when we go into our breakout rooms, some ways to take the conversation is maybe talking about joy and gratitude in your own life. And do you find a relationship between the two? And maybe what is the relationship between joy and gratitude and boredom, despair, and taking life for granted? I find that a very interesting kind of collection of sort of traits. And of course, sharing what is going on in the world for you right now. Okay, so let me get the breakout rooms open. And here we go. Hello and welcome back.
That was fast.
There was no way to answer you when you said, did we want more time? I kept clicking on that and there was no way to answer.
Sorry about that. Well, let me see.
Greg, can you give us a definition of the word cronies?
Yeah, it's like sort of shady friends.
I didn't get that. Okay, I'm gonna have to like do some research or something.
Eileen, you're
Common used in political terms, cronyism.
yeah, kind of like buddies. So what do we think? What's the relationship between those different terms, between joy, gratitude, and maybe some of these other emotional states? Yeah.
I refuse to see boredom as a negative. I brought this up in group because boredom is often the mother of invention and creativity. And one of the problems I saw with my students even 12, 15 years ago when I was still teaching was they're not allowed to be bored for 5 minutes.
Mm.
You know, and kids today, they've always got something to entertain them. Their book, they've got soccer, they've got play dates, and all this stuff, and they're not allowed to be bored. Boredom can give rise to great creativity.
Mm.
So I refuse to see that as a negative.
Okay.
It can be either.
Fair enough.
I thought of Schadenfreude, and that is rejoicing in somebody's misfortune. That's not good. And yet I shouldn't say we all, some of us do that.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah, there is.
I was very happy. I was very happy that a certain someone didn't win the election.
Right. Well, we can all think of examples where we've had that for sure. You know, I have lots of thoughts about lots of people, and you know, it's how someone in the chat commented earlier about the story of the two wolves. Was that you, Carol? Do you want to share that story?
Sure, it allegedly comes from a Native American folk tale where the grandfather is telling the child that you have inside of you two wolves, and one is good and one is not good, and they fight all the time, and the child says, well, which one wins? And the grandfather says, whichever one you feed.
Yeah. There's a whole podcast actually called The One You Feed, where he talks with all kinds of people about this. I was a guest on there a few times because it resonates with me. So how does that relate to what we've been talking about here? Could be someone else, not just Carol.
I think in our group, and Gail, maybe you can chime in here after I say this. We were talking about gratitude, and I think where Gail was going to go, I was thinking the opposite of that is entitlement. So do you feed into entitlement, and the evil side of that says, you know, things are just taken care of without any thought or consciousness or with that gratitude that we're looking to feed. So I thought we got cut off at our chats at that point. So I'll stop it there and see if Carol had or Gail had anything more to add to that, or Carol.
No? Okay.
Well, I think that we feed the joy with the gratitude.
Mm,
Gratitude is food for joy.
mm. Gratitude is food for joy. Randy, what is your take on this topic, what we've been talking about today?
Well, I think for sure that all the good things are friends, and if you focus even what we're doing here today, that it's sort of like we're inviting all those things to be part of our lives and share them, in a good way. Because there's many times in life, if I listen to the news, that's not the same experience as coming to this class.
Mm,
I don't, in fact, I have to turn it off often because it doesn't have what I need to sustain me. I was even thinking, I don't remember if it's like Solomon in Proverbs or whatever. It's like he's saying like wisdom in the public places is throwing this party. It's mixed these drinks and everything, and it's like, well, isn't anybody going to come and partake of this marvelous, thing that's been given us?
mm. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And it sort of reminds me of a point that came up earlier. Is sometimes we want to put ourselves in the position to be grateful. And if I'm just doom scrolling through all the articles about the political deadlocks and the election and article after article about COVID, that's a much harder. It's you can find something to be grateful in there, but you got to work harder at finding it. Whereas opposed to, if I put myself in, and reading a book by an author that I really like, or speaking to a friend, or just coming to an event with other people, it's more fertile ground. That there's more opportunities for gratitude. There's more opportunities for joy. Um, so that's powerful. And that's one of the things that I'm taking from this discussion tonight. It's like, yeah, we can take things for granted and we can be bored, or we can also, and yes, we should look for things that we can be grateful for, but we can also try to make our own luck a little bit and choose to go in situations that bring us gratitude. Sianos, I saw you raise your hand and then you disappeared. So I think you left the meeting. Maybe he'll sign back in. Other thoughts? Other ideas you'd like to share from your discussion?
Renee, you know how the quote from the woman about finding the little things that the children do, the
Yeah.
little minor things. And so when you said that about grow your gratitude, I love that. That's great. That's going right on my wall. Plant your seeds and grow your gratitude. Because
Mm,
that's what that person is doing when they're recognizing the child planting seeds so that the child grows up in gratitude. And then the other things just don't seem as important anymore.
yeah.
But
Thank you.
another person's despair is a challenge. And they could have been challenged from something that we might be able to help. But still, we can have gratitude for ourselves if we're put in a position to be able to help somebody. That means, we've been given a gift to be able to help that person.
Thank you, Wendy. Nancy, I saw you were about to say something as well.
Oh, I was just thinking of well, partly the despair and what was the thing the boredom really go together for me, because the more bored I get because I'm just here by myself every day, then it gets into despair. Okay, oh my gosh, But and I have two friends that I talk to almost daily. But it's also the joy in all that is that I have to be grateful for the little things, to really, really be grateful, because I have so much to be grateful for. But what happens is I tend to wait for these miracles or these big things to be grateful for, like what happened last week. But if I really am more mindful, I see the small things are truly to be grateful for.
Thank you, Nancy. Well, as we close, I have one thing that I have a simcha to share and something that I'm very grateful for and excited about. My daughter got into Mount Holyoke, which was her top choice for college. So she's not only did she get in, she got like a very nice, leadership scholarship from them. So that's where she's wanted to go for a couple of years. So she is done. We're done. The whole family's done with the college admission. So I am grateful for this big thing. So as I'm grateful I can share it with you as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, on that note, let's all close our eyes. Taking a deep breath through the nose and hold. And exhale through the mouth and hold. Let's just think back to some really big positive that happened at some point in your life. Finding the small things is important, but sometimes we do get these really big lifetime events that we can be grateful for. So let's just re-experience one of those memories. Maybe it was a family event. Maybe it was with a friend, or it was a personal milestone and accomplishment. You finally ran that marathon. Whatever it may be, but let's just replay those memories and feel grateful for all those things that contributed to that positive memory and for the opportunity to relive it here this evening. In Hanukkah, we share the lights. Let us, that light that you're feeling, let's share that with each other. Your eyes closed, just let that light transmit to those others in our community this evening, and allow yourself to feel that warmth of gratitude and joy and happiness coming from our companions on this journey. May the light of Hanukkah and our community sustain us for the days and weeks and years ahead. Well, my friends, thank you so much. It has been wonderful to be here with you tonight. And we will be meeting again next Thursday at our normal time. And then the following Thursday is New Year's Eve, where we'll take the week off, and then we shall convene again in January. So I look forward to seeing as many of you as can make it next week. And once again, happy Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Annika, thank you, Greg.
You're very welcome.